There have been a handful of reports that Mario Tennis Fever is not selling well on Nintendo Switch 2. And like every other report suggesting that a Nintendo game is not doing well, it isn't true. This is very easily demonstrated by simply going on the eShop, doing a little bit of investigating, going to the bestsellers page, and looking at what's topping the charts right now. Mario Tennis Fever. The reason why physical sales are down on Nintendo consoles right now is because more and more people are buying digital. That's all there is to it. There is nothing more to be said. Anybody who says anything to the contrary is completely delusional and is actively trying to push an agenda. Okay, so if anything, when you look at how Mario Tennis Fever is doing, when you see the discussion of it online, when you see how it's topping the charts, when you see like how positive people are towards it, when you look at things like say the budget and how this was made by like 30 people, when you look at like situations like that, what you come away with is that this game is actually a pretty monumental success, especially considering the past decade of the entire community trying to rally to downplay Mario sports games. This has been something that we've been dealing with for a long time. Is this idea that like Mario sports games are lazy, they don't do well, that nobody likes them, and the simple reality of the situation is that these games are actually very successful and are very good at appealing to people who don't necessarily know all that much about Mario or about the characters or want to play more of the fantasy games. Like having a sports spin-off with these characters was a brilliant move and is really something that should be celebrated. When you look at what Fever has accomplished, when you look at like what at how this game is turning out, and when you see how enthusiastic people are about it, what you've seen is this product that's been overwhelmingly successful to the point where all of Nintendo's attempts at trying to undermine it and subvert it are just completely falling apart. They are just completely failing and really should be thought of as just an example of just how desperate the community is to downplay every major Nintendo release, even if Mario Tennis Fever did badly. It wasn't the only game that came out this weekend. We had Yakuza Kiwami 3. We got Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition today. We're getting Resident Evil next week. Tales of Berseria next week. Like, we have so many games coming out that, like, even under the hypothetical scenario that Mario Tennis Fever did not do well, realistically something else would have picked up the slack. And that's just the reality of this kind of narrative and this kind of discussion, is that like people want to continue this illusion that the Switch 2 has no games, that there's nothing to play on this console. They always do this thing like, oh yeah, I have a PC for third-party games. Oh, I don't care about that. I only care about Nintendo exclusives, and I don't want ports, and I don't want old games, and I don't want spin-offs. It's like, when you look at that, when you look at the theory and like the mindset and the behavior, what you come away with is just people making excuses to not be excited about upcoming Nintendo products. Because when you really truly think about it, so what if you're not interested in a game? Because plenty of people are. There's clearly an audience for this. And so your entire argument of just like, well, I already played that, it just completely falls apart. Like, if you really think about it in any way, shape, or form, what ends up happening is that you have demonstrated, you have proven to yourself that you don't know what you're talking about, that you are making excuses to complain about Nintendo, to complain about Mario Sports, to complain about everything the community is doing. And there simply isn't anything that you would like, honestly. And I do think that's kind of my core criticism of Nintendo as a personality. Like, what exactly do you like? What exactly are you looking forward to on Switch 2? Why exactly are you covering this company? And the simple fact of the matter is, he's only doing it for clicks. It's all just a giant grift, man. There's nothing more to it. Are we really supposed to listen to someone who allegedly doesn't even own a Switch 2 about the console. Do you know what I mean? Like that whole narrative of like, oh yeah, I'm playing all these games at my friend's house. Because I would never buy this thing for myself because I have principles and I hated everything about it and it doesn't like it's all just a grift. Okay, I don't want to hear this anymore. I don't want to see anybody do this. I don't want to like see this be a thing essentially going forward. Like that's kind of my mentality looking at this and looking at like how people are behaving and the nonsense they're coming up with. Like I am just so tired of this nonsense. I am so tired of Nintendine and his shenanigans, okay? And honestly, like after the financial report was released, that really should have been the end of it. But unfortunately, we're still going through this process where these guys are coming out and they're trying to say that, like, yeah, Tennis Fever failed, the third-party games are failing, all this is doing badly, Nintendo's going bankrupt, and I'm just like, I'm just sitting here laughing. You know, the Super Mario Galaxy movie is coming out next month. You know what I mean? They're gonna have a huge blitz of like information. There's gonna be all this excitement around the brand and the company. Again, like considering like the merchandise, the stores. When you have like the theme parks, like you can't really judge Nintendo success purely based on like hardware sales anymore. Purely based on like video game sales anymore, and that's something that like a lot of these people just can't really wrap their minds around is the simple fact of the matter is that like Nintendo is expanding past like just video games and they are succeeding in it very very well and they're not going to have a lot of the same problems that like other companies have had with like wokeness and just things of that nature. Like Nintendo is dominating right now and people like this just don't want to admit it. Like they really are making entire videos about how allegedly Mario Tennis Fever underperformed when you're going to see the Mario Galaxy movie make over $1 billion at the box office, you know. I would not be surprised if it like outperforms something like say Avatar 3. Okay. Like, it's gonna be remarkable seeing how well, like, things like the Mario movie do, how well, like, the Nintendo Store does, how well the parks do, how, like, things like Donkey Kong are making a comeback. You're gonna see a lot of excitement when the Nintendo Direct drops. And I do think that's, like, the really interesting situation about this is that we haven't gotten a real serious, like, general Nintendo Direct this year. And you have people like Nintendine just dooming and glooming. But like you look at the release schedule and then you see like all these games that are just slated for release in the next couple of weeks. Like you have so much coming out in their near future. You have so much to look forward to. We have so much to play. And I just find myself very, very confused about why supposedly the Switch 2 isn't doing well. It's just, to me, it's just so laughably stupid and off base that it really does need to be called out for what it is. It is just a very good example of how out of touch and delusional like all these business analysts are. And it really does need to be said more just how wrong everyone was about the Switch 2. Like, I think it's become very apparent already that Switch 2 is not only successful, it's well on its way to becoming one of the most successful platforms ever made. And yet, like, the narrative right now is that the PS2's sales record of like 160 million unit is never going to be broken when the Switch 1 very potentially could still break it. It's just laughably weird. It's really really strange the lengths that the community is going to try and downplay Nintendo to the point where they're even aggressively trying to go after a Mario Tennis game. This entire situation was embarrassing and really, truly should be called out.